Welcome to our morning show on WRCO Radio as we begin a new week with all kinds of new subjects and things to be aware of and some really cool things going on in our community. Today we're going to focus on an upcoming program that will be going on in the area at the Richland District. And in the studio with us for the first part of the morning show is Betsy Raisler, Drug Free Communities Project Director and Partners for Prevention Coalition of Richland County, and also namely in the Ithaca and Richland districts. Betsy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good to have you in the studio as we close out the year here. Has it been a good year for Partners for Prevention, do you think?
It has, because we've stayed together and we're continuing to look at things that we should address, and it's great to have a group that's focused on that.
And you're making a difference in the community, I assume.
We believe so. Just anecdotally, people say that they do recognize some differences. We can point to some measurable data that shows us that one of our strategies that aims to reduce retail access to alcohol for young people has improved. So that's really something that we can point to directly, that we can measure and we can say, look, this has really been improving. And so we're very encouraged by the support we're getting from the retailers and from our partners in law enforcement and other volunteers that help to implement the strategy.
Mm-hmm. And people are seeing, a difference in the community, I think. Maybe a different way of thinking then, too.
We hope so. So this is a difficult topic, behavioral health, but the importance of it cannot be, the value of it cannot be measured. It's incredibly important to work on reducing the impact of addictions, substance use disorders and addictions. And what we know from more recent research is that 90% of people that do develop a substance use disorder or an addiction started when they were a teenager or in those years when the brain is developing. So if we can look at specifically how are they getting the substance, that's like the very basic question you want to answer in communities. How are they getting it? What are the other influences, such as lack of enforcement, parental monitoring, the promotion of it? How is it? What are the social norms? What are the community norms? And try to raise awareness around it so that people can pay attention and see how you can tie the rate of use among young people to a 45-year-old parent that's struggling and the impact that has on a family or in a community. So we're working really hard to build the capacity of Richland County to increase that so that it's solved by the community.
I bet if you took someone who's had addiction problems, like in their 40s, for instance, and you asked them, okay, if you could go back, what would you tell your 13 or 14-year-old self? And they'd probably tell them, don't do it, right?
It's awfully hard not to when there's a lot of peer pressure, or that people say, well, there's nothing wrong with it. I did it when I was in high school and I'm fine. So that's a difficult social pressure to work against. So if it was more the norm that, hey, wait a minute, that might not be so good for you. If there were more people saying that, we would theoretically have fewer people that struggle when they get older.
There have been programs through the years, and I think a lot of people will remember the Just Say No program. That was a big one in the 80s, early 90s, right, somewhere in that area, and things like that. So people remember that. Is that looked upon as was that a successful program or not?
So a lot of those earlier programs have been studied. The simply put, it's not enough. It's not enough just to direct all of our attention at young people and tell them it's wrong or we got to scare them into not doing it. There's so much more going on than just providing information to kids. It's what's happening when they're not in the school building, when they walk out the school building and they're in the community. What messages are they getting there? And that is what needs to expand. And so to answer your question, yes, they have been studied. Scare tactics and other one-time events such as school assemblies, it's not enough. It's good to give that information, but at the same time say, hey, wait a minute, we have to look at these other factors that are going on and be more thorough about it. Just like we are with treatment and recovery, we need to give as much attention to prevention as we do. It's not possible. We don't have the resources to give that much attention to prevention, but at least we should be doing it right. We should be thoroughly looking at what's happening in the community.
There are those that will say, well, they're going to get alcohol. They're going to get it anyway. They're going to get drugs. They're going to get it anyway, which isn't necessarily true, is it?
It might be true, but it's harmful thinking because it gives into we might as well give up and not fight this substance use disorders or addictions. I think it's failed thinking in that we can do something about this. It's just a matter of doing some hard things, looking at things in a very critical way and say, maybe this isn't the best for our kids. And considering what their strengths are, finding other ways to build them up, to give them the strength to go through life without substances. But it's awfully hard to take away that thinking of when you were in high school and it was just or you and I both were in high school and it's just a rite of passage. It doesn't have to be. It can be so much better, and we can give our kids better opportunities than we had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, growing up, there were always the cool parents, so to speak, that, they'd kind of look the other way or whatever. And, other parents maybe didn't want to, they wanted to be the cool parent or the buddy as well sometimes. I think as a parent, sometimes get caught in that, don't you?
Yes, and if we can get that information out to them, that does help. But simultaneously, and I'm thinking in particular of Wisconsin's social host law. It is against the law to have parties where their children are not your own and allow them to drink alcohol on private property. That is against the law. However, we have not had a penalty, any kind of violation that has come to court in Richland County yet. But if we did, that would be a first. I mean, that would be, we'd begin to say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what we're going to tolerate, and we can do something about it. It's a hard conversation because people think, well, at least they're not on the road. They're not going out driving. We're keeping them safe that way. But what about their brain, which is still developing? And, we've had Dr. Lakuta from UW-Madison here speak so much more eloquently about that topic and really get into the nitty-gritty of what happens in growing brain. But just nothing comes, it's nothing good that comes from that use as a teenager.
I'm always thinking, too, about lawsuits. Couldn't there be a lawsuit if a youngster underage gets injured?
Yes, there could be. And there again, I'm not an attorney, but I can't speak thoroughly to the law. But there could be. What if there was a terrible accident? What? And there have been in Wisconsin. I know a couple summers ago there was a really unfortunate incident up near Schwano that resulted in some really horrible injuries with a bonfire. Some kid threw a barrel of gasoline onto the bonfire, and a bunch of kids got her. So I don't know what has resulted from that, but typically, that you've got the injuries of the kids plus the private property. It gets to be. It can be a horrible civil legal problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I remember right, I think the person that threw that they were of age, or they were 18 anyway. So I think they did get in trouble, if I remember right.
Okay.
In that one,
but it can happen. Kids just don't make good decisions when they're under the influence. It's just not a good situation, and so we would really like to learn more about what's happening. We think we know, but we want to understand more about where parents are coming from. So I'll get to that when you have some more questions, but we plan to talk to more parents in the county this spring.
Right, exactly. And then you have an upcoming program. That's part of the reason why you're here today. And
yes.
On the second part, we're going to hear from your speaker, Mary Gugesberg. But tell us about the special program coming up at the Richland District in early January.
Yes, we're so thankful to be working with both the Richland and Ithaca school districts. This particular program is aimed at helping parents and other caregivers identify strengths in their children and in themselves. She has a tool that she will allow each participant to get a hold of, and they'll discover their strengths within the context of this community dinner. So that will be held on January 6th. It's a Monday night at the Richland School District in the West Commons. We'll have seating for the dinner outside the auditorium, and then the speaker will be in the auditorium. So as part of the dinner, delicious dinner prepared by Jody Presh and her staff at the Richland School District, she will have roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, plenty of desserts, coffee, water. It's going to be a delicious dinner, all at no cost. And then the speaker, her name is Mary Gugesberg. She's a parent coach, and she also is skilled at helping people do their own assessment of their own strengths, and then to help people identify strengths in their children so that they can build up their strengths and focus on the assets that they're God-given talents that they've been born with. And so this is an effort at increasing the protective factors, the support for parents, the support for kids in the community. And at the same time, we have to identify those risks, like I just was talking about with the social host violations and so forth. That's a risk factor that we're working on. We're also working on bringing awareness to the community on strengths, the strength of individuals, and then ways that we can increase belonging in the community. And so we're excited about hosting this event. And the following day, then we are hosting a school assembly with Mary so that the students can have an opportunity to identify their strengths. That's the next day. That's on a Tuesday at the Richland School District at the high school auditorium, and we'll bring in the 5th and 6th graders. We hope we're still trying to hope that the content is appropriate for them, but we'd like to include some of the intermediate school, and then we've offered to provide transportation to Ithaca to come as well. So we hope we're still working on that, still communicating on that, but we certainly want the community to know about that Monday night event. And we hope you all register and let us know if you're coming on the 2nd of January. There's a QR code in the posters you see on social media. It'll also be in the paper, but you can also call to register. No problem. You don't need to use that fancy QR code. My number is area code 608-647-6131, extension 1516. And if you don't get me, please leave a message and let me know who's coming. It's completely free. We have several really nice grants, state, local, and federal grants that we are using to put on this event for the community.
I was going to say you would have to, because to the busing and everything else involved in there, you'd have to have a little help. So
right, we've been able to acquire several really nice grants that are funding these opportunities, and so we're looking to hopefully. Our goal is to have 100 people at the dinner. So if you can register quickly, that would be wonderful. Then we have a better idea who's coming. We intend to have 4 different raffle opportunities, incentives for getting you there. So we have 2 state park passes that we're going to raffle off, hoping people will get out and use the state park system. It's incredible, the beautiful parks we have. Our local parks are free, obviously. We want you to stay in Richland County, but there are some beautiful state parks if you'd like to camp. We find that's just a wonderful opportunity that we have, a resource for us to stay healthy and to get outside. So we have the 2 park passes, and then we will have 2 pool passes, 2 family pool passes for next summer for the aquatic center. So register quickly, get your name in, and let us know you're coming, and then be present that night when we do the raffle.
Parents, grandparents, I'm guessing, guardians, anybody's
Yes.
eligible, right?
Anyone is eligible, even if you don't have children and you want to learn more about your strengths. Obviously, parents, for our work in particular, parents are incredibly important. They're the primary. Kids will listen to their parents. They may not think the kids are listening, but they are listening. And so they shouldn't be afraid of talking about the topic that I've just been referring to, which is substance use. But also anyone, another caregiver, a guardian, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people that care about children who want to learn more about themselves and the kids they are around.
Have you had a program like this before that focuses on coaching the parents and the caregivers?
We have, in our second year, special thanks to Laura Carpenter, helped us promote a program called Operation Parent, and we distributed manuals to every middle school and high school parent in the county, living in the county. We had those delivered. And this is, Operation Parent is a nonprofit organization based in Kentucky. And we have learned about them and their resources, their webinars, their coaching classes. So we got these manuals, and also the Richland Area Ministerial Association helped distribute them through their churches. So we have done some other things that have supported parents. Upcoming in the spring, I'm glad you asked about that. We also are, in addition to this Operation Parent, we are offering the Strengthening Families program. And that is a 7-week program for parents of children ages 10 to 14. And that's a completely free program as well. It's on Wednesday nights beginning in April. April 5th, I believe, is the first. Oh, no, March. I better get that to your listeners. In any case, the first week of that is in March, and it goes through the end of April. It's 7-week program. It's a worldwide program that was developed at Iowa State University, and it focuses in on relationships in families where their children ages 10 to 14. And it touches on substance use, but also lots about communication, about homework, about rules, about helping families become stronger. And so that's another example of what we're working on. We're thankful for our 3 trained facilitators, the principal, Lisa Brown, at the intermediate school in Richland Center, Michaela Teft, and Lisa Goff. Lisa's a school psychologist, and Michaela is a school counselor. And the 3 of them have been trained. They're trained facilitators to put on this program on Wednesday nights, and there's dinner included, and it's completely free. So if you're interested in that program, that is the contact there would be Lisa Goff for that program, and she is at the primary school. So get a hold of her to register for that. We only take 10 families, so register for that as soon as possible. So Operation Parent, Strengthening Families, now this community dinner. Yes, in a nutshell, we're also trying to address protective factors.
You were here last summer, I believe, and you were looking ahead and hopeful that you were going to be able to get this grant, which goes for 5 years. I understand that you were able to secure that.
We did. We're very thankful for the support. We could not do that, apply for that grant without representation. And thank you, Phil, for representing the media sector. I could name some names. I mean, that's critical. To be able to apply for a grant, you have to have the community support to say, yes, we want to work on these evidence-based practices, which are the core of prevention is really considering local conditions. So if you just would imagine, I mean, this is the frog in the pond analogy that I'm about to bring up that I've talked about many times. So if you imagine Richland County is a pond where other counties are ponds too, but you have the frogs living in the pond. Coalitions look at the pond, and agencies, schools, hospitals look at the individuals, try to figure out what treatment they need, if they're not behaving, what are their issues? But coalitions, getting back to that grant, are essential for examining what's going on in the pine. So where are they getting the substance? Are they supported? Is there law enforcement? Is the substance being promoted? What are the community norms? So all of that data goes into selecting strategies. So I'll try to mention as much as I can by heart the coalition members, but Mark Jelenic represents civic organizations. Sheila Troxel represents youth-serving organizations. Jessica Huntemer represents parents. Kate Waterfall represents youth. You represent our media sector. John Collins represents the elected officials. Kevin Melby represents law enforcement. Jonathan Young represents all clergy in the community. And I'm blanking now. There should be 12. Our officer, so Joanne Krulotz, now getting to our officers, our executive team, Joanne Krulotz is our president. Our vice president is now Tricia Clements, who also does represent our government agencies. And our secretary is Kevin Melby. So we're very thankful for their leadership. And in order to apply, to be eligible, we do need to have a coalition. The Richland School District serves as our fiscal agent. That's key. Steve Board as our authorized organization representative. John Bosworth, who helps with our fiscal side. So this is a federally funded grant. About 450 communities in the United States currently are funded to work on, that are funded, that apply for this funding. And only 30% of the communities that apply do receive the funds. So it's very coveted grant. We received this in 2019, and then we're given 5 years to prove ourselves, and then we can apply in the 5th year for another 5 years. And we're hearing down the line they may extend it another 5. So we, granted, it does take time. It does take time to bring a group together and help them, guide them along in processes that will change the local conditions, so change the conditions in the community so that it's sustainable. So if you just have a program like this dinner coming up, that's a one-time event. What are we trying to build from an event like that? If we can build and grow membership, that would be an objective. We want to bring people along on that, so we will have an opportunity just to be able to quickly share what we're doing and invite people to help out. So we don't want to lose opportunities like that to be sustainable, and that would be as compared to a scare tactic event or an assembly. If you don't build on those, like, where do we go from here? Do we really know that worked? Do we know that for certain? So we leave this event, this community dinner, and we're able to capture some people. That's resources in the community we didn't have before.
The other thing is the extension of high school. Okay, you work and everything goes well, through the high school years, but going to college, it's kind of a rite of passage to, binge drink and things like that. So,
Sure.
Do you extend? Obviously, you hope that you plant the seed and things go well. But do you look ahead past high school to some of these programs?
Yes. So that I'm glad you brought that up, because some people will say, well, I want to give them an opportunity to experience drinking before they go to college, because college, there's a lot more opportunity. What they found from studies is that kids that drink in high school tend to drink even more in college. Not just because they had that experience, that isn't a guarantee that will help them in college. You may have examples, individual examples, and that might be your truth, but in reality, the research doesn't bear out that that's the way to go, to give your kid the opportunity in high school so that they won't drink in college or won't binge drink in college. So we want that information out there as well. So I encourage people to really look into the research and what they're doing and really figure out if that's right for their child.
Sounds good. Well, our speaker is going to be on the phone with us here in just a little bit,
Okay.
Mary Gugesberg. But anything else you'd like to add about the program coming up on the 6th of January, Betsy?
No, I just, I think I've said it all, and thank you so much for the time to share lots of other things, not just about the dinner, but please register today so we know you're coming. We'd love to have you. Again, the phone number is 608-647-6131, extension 1516.
Anybody, you or anybody else available for public speaking if somebody would like a speaker to come and speak to the organization?
Oh, thank you. I would be happy to. Any member of our, I'd have to, of course, get their permission, reach out and get their permission to speak, but give us a call. We'd be happy to get that, to address your group.
And you have your number again, Betsy?
647-6131, extension 1516. The bottom line is we're all about helping the community be as healthy and vibrant and strong as possible.
Yeah. Amen. Thanks for coming in. Betsy Racer joining us, Drug Free Communities Project Director, Partners for Prevention Coalition of Richland County and the Ithaca and Richland districts as well. We'll join Mary Gugesberg, who has the presentation. She'll kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of what she's going to be talking about in Richland Center on the 6th to the parents and the caregivers, and also on the 7th to the students at an assembly. On our morning show today, joining us on WRCO FM 100.9 is Mary Gugesberg, who will be joining us in Richland Center here for an upcoming presentation. And Mary is a family connection advocate. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. First of all, good morning, Mary.
Great to be with you. Good morning to you all as well. Thanks, Phil, for the time. Yeah, what do? I get to help parents have deeper connections with their kids, which ripples into all relationships, whether it's your peers, your work peers, your families, your communities.
So you are a coach of parents, is that correct?
You are very correct. And like I said, it just ripples into all relationships.
Okay. So you'll be coming to present here in Richland Center. And can you give us a little bit of an insight of what you'll be talking about?
Yeah. So there's this tool that, first let me tell you the name of the event. It's a community that cares, use your strengths, create a community of belonging. And it's the opportunity to use a tool called Values in Action, short to VIA. And it's a framework that really celebrates individual strengths. And how do we live those strengths? How do those strengths show up in what we do every day? And then for parents and caregivers and all of us working with young people, how do we see those strengths and really celebrate the strengths? Where, I'm sorry, a lot of folks, we go to the negative, like we catch our kids doing wrong. And what I call out is catch your kids doing right. And we do that by celebrating who they are at their inside, at their core.
Yeah, because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's good for all of us to kind of celebrate what we can do well, right?
You got it. Exactly. And then that reinforcement, like, oh my gosh, my parents saw that I do have this in me. And then for students, when they're in school and they're like, oh, I never knew that, we see the athleticism or the dramas, theater groups, and then we can be like, oh, wait, you were right there for me when this happened. And it's that person whose strength is kindness and how they get to show up for each other. Yeah.
We all know of the many challenges this day and age, and it seems like it gets tougher every year, Mary.
You got it. Technology, overscheduling, peer pressure. There's so many challenges. You named it exactly.
So how do we go about that as parents? How do we, kind of give a happy median?
Yeah. Well, first is what I told you where I start, right? It's family connection. How are we just settling in and loving our children for who they are, and then we help celebrate them at their core. That's what I love about the VIA, the values in action, is it helps me call out, oh, I use kindness. Kindness is so, I see you share kindness when you help your friend with their school project, or when you went to your friend's play, or different ways of using those gifts. Some of the other strengths are love of learning, bravery, when you stood up for your friend, when you did take that step and tried something new. And it just gives parents the toolkit, some language around building that support network and that care.
Absolutely, and I think as you look at it, one of the things that we talk about is having friends. And I talked to somebody about this the other day. I don't know if kids these days have as many close friends as we did back in the day, because a lot of times they're just connecting by electronic media. And do you see that? Yeah. So there's a couple parts in that one. First off, I think that social connection can be, yes, online. Because what if you're into a topic that has an event, a social group isn't at your school. So maybe you're really big into a type of gaming. Well, your social group might be online. And those friends can be real friends. We might not see them shoulder eye to eye in person because they live in another part of the state or area. But that's one. I think we can use technology for that. But two, then, it is celebrating the people that you do get to surround yourself with in person. I like to remind kiddos, to students, young adults, whatever age, surround yourself with people that build you up, not pull you down. And then you get to do that too. You get to be that person for your friends as well. What are the gifts you're seeing in them that you get to help celebrate? When you're a youth, though, living in the moment, and you want to belong so bad, it's probably hard to decipher what's a good thing and what's a bad thing, right?
Yeah, but the more you know yourself, again, back to this values in action, it's going to give you the language and the tools to go, ooh, that doesn't feel right in my gut. I'm going to surround myself with folks that have similar strengths as mine.
Do you get into bullying?
I do talk about that in my parent coaching. Yes, most definitely. This session will not dive into that. But again, I go back to when we have the language to see their strengths might be different than mine. Gosh, I might have another understanding to celebrate those strengths rather than the opposite.
I see. And of course, the big focus is drug-free and alcohol-free and things like that. Again, there are a lot more challenges these days, it seems like, aren't there?
Yeah, so then this also gives parents and students the opportunity to have some prevention language, and it gives opportunity for those protective factors, we call them. So what are some things that I can do that I really enjoy, that celebrates my strengths, and gives me an opportunity to do things that don't contribute to the negative peer pressures.
What about stress? It seems like kids are stressed more today than ever.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh. And, Phil, I think we all are, right? We're talking on an actual telephone rather than different ways of communicating through technology. Technology has increased that stress, that fear of missing out, that everyone else is doing things. When I was younger, it was I'd go to school on Monday and then I'd see, wow, you all got together without me over the weekend versus you're seeing it live. So there's what plays into that stress. And, I would say the more we know ourselves, back to that, who am I at my core? That's why I love this values in action and why I'm honored to be able to come and share this with students and parents, is it gives us that opportunity to really be okay to set some boundaries. Like, wow, this doesn't fit with who I am, and maybe I can set some boundaries that help in that guidance of balance to help then offset the stress that is so prevalent.
Mary, as parents, it's tough not to stress your kids out, so to speak, sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to tell you how I learned even of the values in action, the VIA. Is there's a woman who wrote a fabulous book that talked about the importance of mattering and how parents can show up and prove or be available. That's a better way to say it. Be available to their kids so that they know that they matter. And quick story, this parent shared with, in the book, it calls out, this parent shared that their kid was so frustrated because they didn't excel at the exam that they were taking. And the mom is coming alongside, listening, and she pulls a $20 bill out of her wallet. And she says, do you want this? And the kid's like, well, of course, it's $20. So the mom takes the bill, crumples it up, plunges it in water, steps on it. It's dirty. It's messy. It's maybe even tattered more than... And she opens it back up and says to the child, do you still want this $20 bill? And the kid's like, well, of course. I can spend this. And the message in that is, your value is more than your grade, more than your achievement. You matter because you are a person. And I think that speaks to everything we're talking about, the stress, the challenges of being a good friend. Well, I matter at who I am at my core.
I think sometimes, too, students, they put a lot of pressure on themselves, and like, let's say maybe they're really good at one subject, but they struggle in another, and they really just can't understand why they can't do well in both. I can understand where they're coming from sometimes.
Yeah, and then you, as a parent, as a friend, we get to just come alongside and celebrate the other gifts they have, and then not be afraid to ask for help. It's okay to... And I think we're so quick as parents, as caregivers, to say, yeah, who did you help today? Where I like to say, who helped you? Who's the opportunity? Because we think we have to have this armor on that's like, oh, I got it all figured out. I can do this. Well, especially as we get older, I can't do it all myself. And I have to be open to ask for help, but then receive the help. So I think that plays into those academic achievements too, that, gosh, make that circle of care bigger, and a friend might be able to tutor you in one subject and you could tutor them or come alongside in another subject. And we just have to be willing to accept that.
I think grandparents play a larger role anymore, in raising grandkids too, don't they?
Yeah, and I get a lot of grandparents that come to my education sessions just for what you just said. I don't get their world. Help me understand. But grandparents also bring that consistent love, and grandparents want to show up and be available. And I love when grandparents say to me, Mary, I don't even know how to relate to this kiddo. And I can be like, well, let's talk about it. When did you ask them last about them, and how are they? Let them teach you too.
I know that I hate to keep going back to it, but the COVID years didn't do kids any favors, did it?
Yeah, and I think we're all still learning from the COVID years and the challenges, the isolation. I mean, there's a reason our Surgeon General put out we're in a epidemic of isolation and loneliness for both, right? You just named two of the generations that are really struggling. Our grandparents, our seniors, and our young people are still really struggling with that isolation and loneliness. So that's where I love that we get to use this strength to help build who I am at my core and how can I come alongside people, whether we see eye to eye or not. Gosh, my top strength is kindness. Well, how can I use my top strength of kindness to just ripple that out to my peers, to my friends, to my community?
I think it's important, too, we read the national news or hear the national news, and we get all stressed out about that. But I think it kind of starts locally, doesn't it, where you spread a little kindness locally and hope that it's a ripple effect, right?
Oh, you named it exactly. The word that was coming to mind is ripple. How can we ripple? So there's, in this presentation, we call it strength spotting. So where I get to see, so you're using your strengths, right? You have an awesome way of pulling what's happening in the community and resonating it with others so they learn with and from you. Well, how do we empower that in our young people? How do we empower that in our parents, in the community, the greater, so that there are all these people coming together with this circle of support and care and celebrating the values, the foundation that is alive in all of us to live into that community love and support.
As they've said for a long, long time, it takes a village, doesn't it?
Yes, so true. But then let's make the village broad and diverse and encircle everyone. I love when, you get cards in the mail. Who sends mail anymore, right? It's that way of just coming along. How do we support folks who have a broken bone to those who also have mental health concerns? How are we showing up with that village and being that village for everyone?
I'm guessing that concerns of parents, whether it's a large city or a small community like ours, it's pretty much one and the same, isn't it?
Oh, you got it. And I wouldn't say you're that small of a community. I think there's much to learn from small communities that can be carried into a larger metropolitan area, because people do crave that someone knows my name when I go to the grocery store. Hey, Phil, how are you today? That means a lot. Where I go in and I'm anonymous. Nobody knows me because I do live in a big area. And it is so important that recognition is important to all of us.
I think you bring up a good point. That is a strength of our community, is that, if you see a youngster and you saw them in the play or in the band concert or whatever, you can tell them job well done, whether you know them well or not. I think that's one of the things that we have going for us here.
Yeah, and you just named also, you were there. You got to go and support in that way. A lot of times parents only go to the things that their own children are in, but when I'm in a smaller community, it's like that's the community gathering place, is the athletics, the sports, the anything that a child is in, parents and community members want to support, and then it ripples. And then, it's the cousins, it's the aunts, it's the uncles, it just makes your heart sing, right? When you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these people that are here to support and love with and on these kiddos.
How do you handle, let's say a youth is in a group of friends that maybe it's not a positive group. It's tough to pull them away from that. How do you respond in a situation like that?
Yeah. I go back to family values, like what in your family resonates, how are we, and maybe a lot of parents, this is actually how I start my coaching, is define your family values, your family principles, your core. Like what are the foundational things you want in your young person before they fly from your home? That goes back to, are you surrounding yourself with people that build you up or pull you down? And it's those reminders to just come alongside. Catch your kid doing right. The more we catch our child doing, wow, you're cleaning up at the house and I didn't even ask you to do that. You're doing your homework and turning it in. Thanks. We get so routine that we forget to catch the little moments. So to answer your question about how do we care for kiddos when they might be surrounding themselves with kiddos others that aren't as, I don't want to use the word healthy, but they're making different choices. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It's reminding that kid who they are at their core. Back to the values in action, right? The more we have the words to say, I see you offer teamwork. I see you playing fair. I'm just using words that gratitude. And you're just sharing what strengths this child has to help really empower them to make those decisions themselves. You name a really big concern because parents are like, I want my kid to have healthy friends. I want them. Well, all kids are healthy. They just might be making choices that are developmentally more not resonating with your family values and strengths.
And as often, we don't know what that particular youth, somebody else's family is going through, those kind of things. There's usually a core that's causing them to act out or whatever they're doing wrong, right?
Or just the choices they're making. They just might not align with what your family sees as the values that, the choices that you would hope your child would make. I mean, we can call the obvious, right? Substances, right? There's a reason that 21 and up can have alcohol. There's a reason that different laws are in place because of brain development. And how are we walking alongside all kids to not shame, but to bring the support and care to all who are making different choices.
Mary, can you tell us about the program and how people can be a part of it here in Richland Center?
Yes. Well, I'm honored to be partnering. There is, I believe, messaging will be going out with how to access. There is a registration link because there's dinner going to be provided. 5:30 is dinner. It's in the Richland Center High School East Commons. And then I will be presenting about 6:30, and it's about an hour presentation. That's the Monday evening, January 6th, to parents, caregivers, community members. And then on Tuesday, I get to do a shorter version to students. And we'll be doing strength spotting and just calling out those internal gifts, we'll call them, that everyone has, but how do we celebrate them and build community connections?
How do you go about reaching students? Like, you go into a classroom and how do you kind of get them to get that light bulb on and share and communicate with you?
Yeah, for me, because I show up, I get to empower the people that walk with them every day. It's the teachers, it's the administration, it's the all the school staff to see those strengths and those gifts that each young person has. I get to empower them. So I get to introduce the message as well as empower the student caregiving team to really bring light to shine this.
Do you do a lot of these throughout the year?
Oh my goodness, it's so exciting. I do. And I have capacity to do more, of course, but it is so exciting when I get to see this in action. Best way to say it.
Do you have a website or some socials that people can check out what we've been talking about here, Mary?
Yeah, so MKG Parent Coach. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, mkgparentcoach.com. Where else can you find me? LinkedIn. LinkedIn is by my name, Mary, Merri, Guggisberg, Guggisberg.
All right. Certainly things have changed in the last few years. How do you see going forward? I'm sure there'll be more challenges that we haven't even thought of in another 5 years or so, right?
Yeah, so you ask a great question. Boy, I wish I had a crystal ball, right? I think all of us do who work in education and support of families. I'm going to say the thing that hasn't changed in the last forever is that foundation. What I don't see changing is how are parents showing up, caring for each other, caring for their children. How are they teaching them their family values? Like what resonates in your family that's going to grow that child into a young person who is resilient. When challenges happen, they can walk through them and then learn how to bounce back. I don't think that's ever going to change.
You've been a wonderful guest, Mary, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Richland Center on January 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all that night. That'll be great.
Mary Gugesberg joining us, MKG parent coach and family connection advocate, will be in Richland Center at that upcoming program in early January.